I went to the fire there a little bit.
Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the betting show for UFC Paris, Ciryl Gane versus Tai Tuivasa. We're going to talk two plays like we always do here. Going to talk about this main event, and there are a lot of implications on this main event. Who could maybe get a title shot? You got, Curtis Blades looming in the background there. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. We are breaking it all down here today, but we're coming off a week off. It's always nice to have these week offs. We don't have too many of them as UFC cappers. I know MMA, there are some other spots here and other things that we could get into. I dabble with a little bit there, but when it comes to my client plays and things that I really have been successful over years on, it's been UFC. So it's nice to kind of take a break, recalibrate. 2 weeks ago, I was in Las Vegas, and boy, it was a great time at the Wager Talk meet and greet. Met a lot of people, and let me tell you something. I want to take a minute here because we met a ton of people who buy our picks, clients of mine, people that I know. It was just an awesome time, and I highly suggest anybody who is, whether looking to go to Vegas, try to do it around the meet and greet. I'm telling you, it was a blast. I mean, hanging out with the Prez, always a great time. Andy Lang, I'm sure you guys probably know him as well too. Ariel Epstein, Kelly in Vegas. I mean, we just had a great time partying with everybody. And Rob Vino, another guy, just awesome people that are within the company, and as well as just meeting people who are from around the country and even some around the world that we met, had a great time with. So suggest that you guys get into that next time I start bringing it up. Start planning your vacation around that. But before we get into the breakdown here, I've got like 2 or maybe 3 new shows coming out here. Podcast shows, however you want to kind of call it there. One is probably going to be under the Wager Talk banner. Have some other ones here. They're going to be very different. One looking at more of the sports betting side of things, breaking down fights, as well as the other one is more casual, a little more fun, give you more information as that gets a little bit closer. But excited about it, just got great things going on. It has been a great 2022. So let's keep it going and let's cash some tickets this weekend here. So first fight we're going to be talking about, let's dive right in, is Ciryl Gane versus Tai Tuivasa. We've got Ciryl Gane right now. He's roughly around minus 575. On the other side here, Tuivasa is plus 425. And like we always do here, we're going to talk about 3 fights for each fighter, see what we see if one fighter can expose the other fighter, and if the line makes sense to place a wager. So the first person we're talking about here is Ciryl Gane, and 3 fights ago, he fought Alexander Volkov. This one here, very in the wheelhouse. This was a glorified kickboxing match, pretty much to begin with here. Both guys kind of in their comfort zone, standing at range, and the big difference in this fight here was, and we're going to talk about it a lot here, and pretty much everybody is, of course, is just the light-footedness, the movement, the distance management of Ciryl Gane. How great he is at that, very risk-averse. And this was pretty much the same thing where he's basically his entire strategy is just staying at a distance, pitter-pattering, and then finding opportunities to counter, land shots, chip away at the legs. Volkov is just had some success in certain spots, but pretty much it was all Gane. And the big difference is the speed. Volkov just doesn't have the speed that Gane has. He doesn't have the footwork that Gane has. He is a great kickboxer, there's no doubt, but it just really kind of sat very well. They were both at distance for the most part, and that's kind of how Gane chipped away on the scorecards, getting the victory. There was no real threat of takedowns or any of that really going on there, so it was a great matchup for Gane. He looked great in a kickboxing match, so he goes out there, he wins 50-45 across the board against Alexander Volkov. 2 fights ago, he fought Derek Lewis. This is another situation here where you just couldn't cut distance. You had somebody like Derek Lewis who loves to go in there, loves to bang, throws the big shots. But this was one here where not only did he just not really kind of push forward and just kind of swing heavily, is he really just wasn't active. I mean, the whole fight he was pretty much inactive. That first round, I think it was about 10 strikes thrown in the first round. And that's also credit to Gane, again, We're going to talk about that part of it, but credit to Gane, good footwork, good movement, staying out of danger, and just keep chipping away, throwing some nice leg kicks, which started to hurt Lewis early on in that fight. He started to chip away. He really didn't like it. Then he was even trying to get a hold of Gane because he couldn't really manage the distance, and as well as he was just getting outstruck. He looked confused. I mean, honestly, that was like a very just almost uninterested, unmotivated Lewis at this point here. And even at the end of the fight, even when he was getting beaten up, he got melted in that third round. Pretty much, there was no even way that Lewis got into rhythm at any point in the fight. Credit to Gane, but he goes out there, he gets the stoppage in the third round via TKO. And most recently, he fought Francis Ngannou. Now, there are a lot of layers to this fight here. There's a lot of different things that kind of go on in this fight here. And, you know, we know that Ngannou was hurt. He, you know, injury to his leg and you know, still went out there with a blown out leg and had some success. So there's definitely some different parts to this that I would like to see that fight again. I did have Ngannou to win this fight, and I did predict some of those takedowns there would be happening, but didn't realize it was going to be in this situation. And early on, Gane was landing, and that's something, again, Gane was landing. Good footwork. Now, obviously, Ngannou, with the injury that happened, he looked very flat-footed. He wasn't really had much movement, and was getting picked apart early in that fight. But once it got into that third, fourth round is when Ngannou said, forget the striking, I'm going for takedowns. And this completely threw off Gane. This really changed the pace of this fight. It really changed what Gane is good at and smothered him up, kept him down, and Gane was able to kind of keep control over those 2 rounds and kind of evening it up pretty much for me at this point. If I remember correctly, it was like 2-2 in my mind going into that third. And Gane had an opportunity. Gane gets his takedown, which is kind of crazy also. He goes to the takedown. He went for a leg lock, didn't get it, and Ngannou ends up on top and ends up getting that round, winning 3-2 on most scorecards. But this just really shows that, you know, it's very tough to defeat Gane if you're gonna fight in a stand-up war. He's very good. He did enough to get that, Ngannou did enough to get that victory, but interesting enough how that all went down with the takedown. So Ciryl Gane goes out there and loses via decision. On their side here, you got Tai Tuivasa. 3 fights ago, he fought Greg Hardy. These are gonna be pretty quick here. This was one here where early right away, you did see the leg kicks coming from Tai Tuivasa. That is an absolute weapon that he's gonna look to use Saturday night, as well as he looks to use it on pretty much everybody. And the big part that why he's kind of setting that up is first he's got these thick ass legs that he just does not care. He swings them like a baseball bat. But also it opens up the head shots. It opens up the shots for the head. While they're worrying about those powerful leg kicks, and we know how damaging they are over a period of time, he was able to kind of, you know, open up some big shots there. But this was one where the way that Hardy fought and the way that Tuivasa fought, they're barroom brawlers the way that they were going in this fight. A big exchange happened, Tai gets wobbled, but as Hardy comes in, Tai lands a big bomb, drops him, finishes him, fight over in the first round, a quick one, and there you have it there. Tai Tuivasa wins via KO. 2 fights ago, he fought Augusto Sakai. This was one here where, again, you saw Tuivasa pushing forward. He is the kind of guy that does not skip. He's one, take one to give one. He has durability. He's looking for that in tight exchanges. And it started to work early. He started landing some nice shots. A lot of clinching kind of going on in that first round. You saw that Tai was trying to kind of get in tight, throw some elbows, work some dirty boxing. But going into the second round, I mean, I gotta say, it was a beautiful check left hook from Tai Tuivasa that rocked Sakai, and after that, it was night-night. He threw a barrage of shots, melted him completely, folded Sakai like a lawn chair, ended the fight in the second round via knockout. A big win for him and another knockout victory. And then most recently, he fought Derek Lewis. This was one here where, again, Tai started throwing those leg kicks, chipping away at the legs, trying to slow down or even take away some of the power of Derek Lewis. And this was one here where, again, a lot of clinch fighting early. A lot of clinch fighting, a lot of, Lewis looking for the takedowns. He gets this inside trip takedown. And when he got this takedown, I mean, Lewis threw bombs. I mean, it was almost as if Tai Tuivasa was trying to get back up against the cage, and he was throwing big shots. I would say a lesser man is knocked out. And it just shows still that Tuivasa has a phenomenal chin. But he ends up getting up and going to that second round. Another wild exchange happens, rocks Tuivasa. Tuivasa comes back, lands a big shot, melts Lewis in that second round, gets the TKO victory. So there you have it there. So, with that being said, the first thing here is we got to talk about Gane. We talked about his footwork. We talked about all of that. Listen, he's got the fantastic footwork for a heavyweight. No heavyweight moves the way that Ciryl Gane moves. I mean, it really is impressive about how big and a large of a man he is, the footwork he has, the way, the distance management that he has, the quick developing combinations that he has. A lot of that really, really transitioned very well from his kickboxing into MMA. And also the fact that he is very more well technical than Tai Tuivasa. Tai Tuivasa is not a technical guy. We know that. He looks to stand, bang, throw big shots, move forward. While you have, obviously, the great footwork of Gane to kind of stay on the outside, chip away, fantastic distance management, very risk adverse. Those are the things that have really brought success to him. Where you've got the other side, you got Tuivasa, has that one-punch knockout power. We've seen it. He's got five straight knockout victories. I think 3 in the first, 2 were in the second round. Good leg kicks, kind of working and kind of mixing it up a little bit in there, and the great durability that he has also. The first part here, though, really is, a lot of people really talk about, if they're talking about Ciryl Gane, a lot of people are saying, hey, Tai Tuivasa is going to get tired later in the fight. He's going to get tired later in the fight. Is there a cardio issue for Tuivasa? I guess maybe. I guess, is he a guy that, he doesn't look like it, of course, but is he a guy that can go 5 full rounds? Is he a guy that can go and brawl 5 full rounds? This fight is not going to be a brawl. This is not, although as much as Tuivasa wants it to be, it's not going to be a brawl. And I think that one thing also is that Gane likes to work at a slower pace. Especially early, he likes to work at a slower pace. He keeps distance, he wants space, limited pressure, kind of moving around, and that also is gonna allow Tuivasa the openings that maybe he may need, and not utilize the gas tank. We saw in some of these other fights, and especially in fights with Tai Tuivasa, they have been absolutely crazy. A lot of action, a lot of throwing, big shots being traded wildly. Yeah, that's not going to transition over 5 rounds. Of course not. Here, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Him cutting distance, that may be a problem. Him outlanding Gane over 5 rounds, that could be a problem. But I don't think the cardio argument really is going to transition too much or even matter, I think, in this fight. Now, the biggest thing for me here in this fight is that all of, last 4 opponents for Gane, none of them really pushed. None of them really brought the fight to Gane. And all of us kind of talk about that, and everyone's kind of saying, hey, he's great at distance management. Absolutely, he is probably one of the best when it comes to the heavyweight division with that. And again, because he's so light-footed. But no one brought the fight. If you look at his last 4 opponents, you had Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who literally didn't throw a punch. I mean, his corner was yelling, throw a punch, get active. And he just, and again, it's credit to Gane, the footwork, I get that part. But just never went for it. Just never said, I'm going to go in there and throw. Never did it, never went for it. Volkov, kind of the same thing. Both of them kind of stood at range for most of that fight. Lewis, again, we just talked about it, threw 10 strikes in the first round, was not active, very much did not move forward and look to march forward. And then Gane got the takedown. So this to me is going to be a very different fight for Gane than he's had pretty much most of his UFC career. You got a guy in Tuivasa who is going to bring the fight to Gane. He's a guy that goes out on his shield. He does not care. Now, is he as technical as Gane? Absolutely not. But does he have the power to put anybody, in the division out? Absolutely. And yes, he's got to create the chaos. He's got to create that, but he is not scared of that. I don't think he's worried about those kind of things happening. These big exchanges happening. Again, he's fine taking one to give one. I think that's going to be part of it, and it's part of his weapon, that durability, that granite chin, taking the big shots, and putting Gane in an uncomfortable position. He has not. He really has not. Pretty much one of the few times, is where Lewis kind of pushed forward and Gane ran, like literally ran to the other side of the cage. So if Tuivasa can go out there and push the pace, get in his face. Now, he's not. There's no way that Tuivasa believes he can go out there and win over 5 rounds. So he knows he has to push the base. He knows he has to take some shots to land his big shot. I think that is going to be a big part of the success here, pushing forward and not being scared of what's coming back. I feel like a lot of guys froze up against him. You know, Rosenstruck and Lewis, these guys really just froze in front of him and allowed him to dictate the pace, land the shots, have the openings. That's exactly what Gane wants. And I just think if you march him down, you have him on his back foot, can't utilize the kicks a little bit as much, that's going to be very hard to utilize a strong weapon of his. Tuivasa has the ability. He's got these thick legs. I don't think that, you know, Gane is going to be landing those big shots. He's going to be looking to land those big shots on the legs and slowing down Tuivasa, taking away some of the power. But the marching down is going to be very different. I truly believe that's something he's going to be doing in this fight. On the feet, of course, Gane's definitely much better. I mean, you know, let's be real there. He's definitely much better. He's got the, again, I talked about it already, the kicking, the light-footedness, but he's got a high fight IQ. There are good things about it there. But I think also the fact that Tuivasa can look to level change. Now, I just think even if he can't get it, even if he can't go out there and get the takedowns, I like that if he can kind of mix it up, get Gane thinking, throw in some leg kicks, look to get a takedown, and then open up the big shots. He's been working with Daniel Cormier. They've been very kind of open about how they've been working together. I think that's elevating him. It's not like Tuivasa's going to go out there and have this heavy wrestling approach, but I think he's become more smarter. And we've seen the vulnerability. If Francis Ngannou can hold him down for basically 2.5 rounds with one leg and pretty much not any real ground game that Ngannou has. I'm not saying Tuivasa has it, but he could possibly do the same thing. He could possibly find that. And the one thing that he's got is the big shots. If he's able to get them down, the ground and pound could be absolutely vicious when he's there too. So I don't think that Tuivasa is going to go out there and look to outstrike him over 5 rounds. I think he brings the fight to him. I think he looks to land a big shot here. This line here, you know, it's wide, and you know, absolutely Gane should be the favorite. I don't think it should be this high, but I think Gane should be the favorite here. But I do like Tai Tuivasa here. I think this is really dog or pass, and also, I'm not looking, you know, plus 425 is a great number, if you're looking for a little sprinkle spot here, but he's not going to win this by decision. So for me here, I do like Tai Tuivasa via knockout, plus 725. It's worth the sprinkle here. I know some people may say, hey, you know, Gane's going to work him over 5 rounds. There's a very good probability of that. But we're talking about sports betting. This is a nice spot. It's a good value spot. I like it. Plus 725 on Tai Tuivasa to win via knockout. And the other play we're going to talk about here is Nasrat Haqparast versus John Makdessi. We've got Haqparast. He is minus 225. We got Makdessi coming back at plus 172. So this is a striker's delight here. I think we're going to see a nice striking bout between both of these guys. But I think the recency bias has really brought this line closer, even at the minus 225, closer than this line should be. And the biggest reason here is the last 2 losses that Nasrat had. And he lost to Dan Hooker and he lost to Bobby Green. Now, these are 2 high-level, top-level guys when it comes to the striking game, when it comes to the stand-up game. Bobby Green really is as underrated as it gets when it comes to his striking, his ability. The one part I always talk about when I talk about Bobby Green is what he did against Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev is an elite level striker. And Bobby Green, I mean, was in there going and almost actually won that fight. But that just shows the level of striking that Bobby Green does have. Dan Hooker, obviously, he comes from a great camp, a very respected fighter, very good fighter within the division. But this one here, you know, again, those are both striking bouts. The way you probably beat these guys is maybe take them down. It was all striking, and Nasrat did lose both of those. But you got Makdessi on their side, Ignacio Bahamundo, who he lost to, who he beat, who was a guy that, you know, up and comer, you know, and it was a bloody war, and people kind of talked about it. Where Bahamundo's, it was a good fight. He ended up, Makdessi ended up getting that victory there, but that's kind of holding, hanging his hat on. Hey, he beat this guy in his last fight. If you look at the prior fight where he fought Francisco Trinaldo, it was a 30-27 for Trinaldo. Trinaldo was on the outside. Trinaldo was easily outlanding him. Makdessi could not get into rhythm, was kind of skirting around the outside of the cage as just 1-2 easy combinations were landing for Trinaldo. So I kind of sense it's going to that way than anything else. I kind of sense it's going to be Nasrat can kind of move forward, do some of the same things, land the better shots. I think he's got the better hand speed. He's got the long-rangey jab, good footwork. So Nasrat has some key elements that he'll need, especially the fact he's got crisper striking. He's got the better striking, I believe, between the two, and he does this blitzing kind of attack that pushes opponents away. So even when he's kind of backed up a little bit, Nasrat will kind of blitz forward, throw like a 3-hook combination, and kind of find space and be able to kind of reset in the middle of the cage and kind of dictate the pace. I think that's what he's going to be able to do here. But on the other side here, you've got Makdessi, who has a lot of red flags to me. First thing is he's 37 years old. He's getting older now. I mean, how dedicated is he at this? You're seeing that the last fight with Bahamondes was a year and a half ago. So not only is he aging, which never works out great when you're aging and you've taken off over a year in your career. So that already just is red flags to begin with. But you also have the fact that roughly 8 months ago, he had hamstring surgery. So he had hamstring surgery, he's been out for a year and a half, and he's 37 years old. There are a lot of things against Makdessi in this spot here. Yes, he's tough. Yes, he's a grizzled vet. He's shown to, have some, he's won some pretty good fights, a while ago, years ago. Some pretty good fights. But I think that, another layer of this is the fact that Makdessi hasn't beaten a southpaw in the UFC. So you've got Nasrat, who is also a southpaw. I believe he's going to be able to have a lot of success and not be able to kind of find a rhythm against somebody who already has better weapons, better striking than Makdessi, and a younger guy with less problems. I think it's a good spot for Nasrat. If you look at on the other side here, Makdessi, let's see, since 2016, he has had 8 fights in the UFC. And he was 5-3 over that span. Only one came lost via stoppage. So he's not a guy that gets the stoppages. He's not a guy that goes out there and gets stopped. So that's part of it. The other part of it here is Nasrat on their side since 2017, since entering UFC. He's 5-4, and he only has 1 knockout victory and 1 knockout that he has suffered. So these are not guys that really are going out there, guns blazing, looking for the big shot, standing and banging. I think it's going to be both pitter-pattering back and forth. I think it's a good spot here where I think the pace will be a little bit slower. I think that both guys are going to be risk-averse. I think both guys are going to look to land, but always be on the feet. And I think that highly favors Nasrat in this spot here. So I like Nasrat Haqparast via points plus 125. We're getting off the big number of minus 225. I think it's a good spot. I think it's a likely outcome. I think that he's going to be, again, keep the pace in his favor and win on the scorecard. So the other play is Nasrat Haqparast plus 125 via points. So there you have my 3 plays for UFC Paris. We will see how we do. I am excited. We are back. Let's make some money. This is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and I'll see you next time.